Good afternoon. My name is Fred Strassheim, and I'm from here in Omaha. I have a question about your acquisition methodology. And I was intrigued to read in your annual report about your acquisition of Star Furniture. And as I understand the process you followed, Mr. Buffett, you met with you reviewed financials for a brief period, liked what you saw, then you met with Mr. Melvin Wolf for 2 hours and struck a deal, and you wrote you had no need to check leases, work out employment contracts, etc.
Right.
I think that most companies, when they do acquisitions, would feel the need to do a significant amount of legal due diligence, to do things like check the leases, check into things like undisclosed environmental liability, or perhaps threaten litigation. And I guess my question is, have you ever been burned by your approach?
We've never been burned by we've been burned only in the sense that we've made mistakes on judging the future economics of the business, which would have had nothing to do with due diligence. We regard what people normally refer to due diligence as really sort of boilerplate in most cases. It's a process that big companies go through, and they feel they have to go through it, and they're ignoring, oftentimes in our view, they're ignoring what really counts, which is evaluating the people they're getting in with it and evaluating the economics of the business. That's 99% of the deal. You may run into an environmental liability problem, one time in 100, or you may find a bad lease. I asked Melvin about, do you have any bad leases? I mean, that's the easiest way to do it. And I can read them all and try and look for every clause or something, but it isn't going to, that is not the problem. We've made lots of bad deals. We made a bad deal when we bought Hochschild Kohn, for example, a department store operation back in 1966. But it had fine people, but we were wrong on the economics of the business. But the leases didn't make any difference, or that sort of thing just was not important. And I can't recall any time that what other people refer to as due diligence would have avoided a bad deal for us.
I can't either.
No, that's 30-some years. And the key thing, you just don't want to do. I'm on various public company boards. I've been on 19 public company boards, and their idea of the due diligence is to send the lawyers out and have a bunch of investment bankers come in and make presentations and all that. And I regard that as terribly diversionary, because the board sits there, entranced by all of that, and everybody reporting how wonderful this thing is and how they've checked out patents and all that sort of thing. And nobody is focusing really on where the business is going to be in 5 or 10 years. And business judgment about economics and people to some extent, but the business economics, that is 99% of deal making. And the rest, people may do it for their protection. I think too often they do it as a crutch, just to go through with the deal that they want to go through with anyway. And of course, all the professionals know that. So believe me, they come back with the diligence, whether due or not. And we are not big fans of that. I don't know how many deals we've made over the years, but I cannot think of anything that traditional due diligence has had a thing to do with. And
no, we've had surprises on the favorable side a couple of times.
That is true. That is true. The kind of people that we've generally dealt with have usually told us the bad things first and good things after we made the deal. We made a deal with a fellow over in Rockford in 1969, Eugene Abegg, the Illinois National Bank and Trust Company. I made that deal in a couple of hours, and I mean, there just wasn't any way that Gene was going to be hiding anything bad. For the next 10 years, when I went over there, every time I go to lunch, he'd point out some building in town that we owned that wasn't on the books, or some foundation we had that had money in it that he hadn't told me about. And he even gave me some bills, one of which I carry in my pocket, that he had still sitting around that were issued by the bank, that were our own money, which he never told me about. We could cut them out like paper dolls. I mean, Gene was not a guy to show all his cards. And those are the kind of people we've generally dealt with. And I would certainly say that that Melvin and Shirley fit that description in spades. We're now at 3:30. It's been a lot of fun this weekend. I'm glad you came, and I hope to see you next year. Thank you.